Hey you guys. All right, so here's the trade breakdown for today, May 17th. So if you recall, for those of you who maybe were sleeping or whatever, in the chat, the moment I looked at price, so I got to the charts around just around 7 o'clock. And I noticed, and I said right to the group that we are definitely in a range. And I quickly looked, guys, at the 4 hour and immediately realized that the 4 hour and the daily are pushing up into supply. So I was pretty bearish. However, knowing that we're in a range between this supply zone here, you guys, let's just mark this out. This supply zone here that pushed price lower and this OB that is pushing price higher, I know that we're in a range and I have to use my range type of system. And that basically is we need to trade more from the edges and we need to wait for liquidity sweeps and inducement to get taken for us to get into really nice trades. Now, this first trade, as price came into here, I missed this trade, and it kind of irks me because I tell you guys all the time, once inducement goes, you can look for sells. And when I saw price here, I immediately saw this SVG and this higher OB. I was waiting for this to get filled completely and price to tap in here. And so as price, guys, made its way up here, I should have taken this trade. I didn't. I knew immediately what my mistake was, and that was that after price started falling, the inducement had got taken. And that's where my mistake lied, that I wasn't actively looking for my shorts once inducement got taken. So this trade here, guys, does make sense as well because inside of this price action, this is inducement right here, and this is an unmitigated OB. And actually, I mentioned to the group that this trade did make sense as well because this here was your 5 second drop base drop, okay? And this area here caused the liquidity to go. So this was inducement for this origin move, and this is a fair value gap. So this range is creating inducement with inducement, okay? And that's what ranges start to do. And so when price came into this zone, you guys, and it took out the OB that pushed price into and mitigating, and we immediately wiped with a retest and a break of structure, we could have entered right here. So we could have done a market execution order right here with our stop loss here, and this would have been a really nice trade all the way down to the demand. That's how I would have traded that. So I missed that trade, and then price, guys, came all the way back up, and this is the trade that I missed again. Like I mentioned in the group, I made a couple mistakes today of just missing some trades. I was pretty busy too with some corporate work stuff that I was working on. But this trade here I missed completely. I was so heavily biased on shorting that I wanted to short from here, and I just completely missed this after the fact, thinking this inducement would do this. So I actually watched price fall here, and I thought this OB would drive price up to here and then go, and that's just not what happened. So I missed this trade. So let's just go, and I believe this creates, yeah, it holds the flip perfectly, like just oh, perfect. And then this is your next opportunity right here, off that flip. And price just absolutely melted all the way back down to demand, and this would have been like a 1 to 10 RR trade. Now this trade here I got into, guys, on the flip zone. This one ended up breaking me even. So what I saw now is I thought this would be inducement, so I thought this wipe of this would come here and then come into here, and then I was going to look for sells in my zone again. Now it got close, and you know, this trade went 1 to 4, I think. So This trade was, I mean, I know I had 3% on this trade. Yeah, it was almost 1 to 4. So I could have partialed, but instead I ended up going break even. So is what it is. Yeah, so I got tagged out right here. I thought this push right here, that's where I ended up going break even. This liquidity started generating this push. I was like, okay, cool. If this goes, then I'm good. And then when price took this out, my break even was basically right here, you guys. And I was hoping this would actually act as more inducement to go. It didn't. So price wanted to come down, guys, for this origin OB to fill that gap, and that is what can happen. So no big deal. And now, as I start to see this price action, guys, form, this OB ended up causing a chalk. So now I'm trying to figure out how do I get into a trade into my zone. Because I believe now, again, you have to keep in mind, I know we're in a range. So price is wiping the lows, wiping the highs. This is a pretty solid range of movement. This is 23 pips. So all day long, you're sniping trades up and down, up and down. Okay, and this is the power of knowing when you're in a range and whatnot, and then all of a sudden if price starts taking out more lows down here, then you can start to look for your signs that maybe we're going to start making trends, okay? So price comes in, guys, here, creating a chalk, 2 chalks actually. That's a 1 minute chalk, I do believe. So let me go to the 1 minute. So yeah, that's your 1 minute chalk, you guys. Right here, that's your 15-second chalk off of this demand. So basically, I know we have a fair value gap down here. So price, guys, comes down here, and it's ranging, and it comes in here, and let's go to the 15-second. So this here, I believe, would get filled, this fair value gap. And this trade irks me. I shouldn't have gone break even here. I would have had two really nice. This would have been 1 to 10, and this was 1 to 5. So the reason, guys, I entered this trade here is we made a chalk, we made a flip, we broke, in my opinion, this demand here. So I market executed on the retest in here. I do believe price comes down a little bit more. Oh no, yeah, it did come down more, and this is why I got broken even right here. This right here irked me. As soon as this respected this flip zone, I got tagged out BE right here, and I knew I made a mistake. I instantly knew I needed to get back in this trade because this sucker was going all the way up to the top. And what I looked at was this supply that drove price in here breaking, okay? So when price comes back up and clears out this new supply, you have to keep in mind, guys, on the 5-second, this here is your flip zone, okay? Price made new supply and then broke it. So for me, this was enough to get in because now we've created an order block, and I believe we're creating more block flow to go up. But I was pretty annoyed that I broke even here when I really should have just moved my stop loss like this. So it is what it is. I learned a lesson there that definitely I don't want to be break even with this unmitigated OB down here. If I took a loss, I took a loss, but so anyway, I ended up getting back in this trade, you guys. Now, I was watching the 5 seconds, so as soon as price broke that high, I market executed. So right there, and I covered this fair value gap, so it was a 2 pip stop loss versus a 1.4 pip stop loss, and that's why I was a little annoyed. And anyway, this is basically the trade. Honestly, price just kept going. Now, I wasn't going to go break even here because I knew that this area could reverse price and we're forming order blocks. So now, though, here I'm break even. There's no reason for price now to come back here until hitting its objective. So this was a nice trade. Now, this ended up taking off a little bit more. Okay, it went up a little bit more, so I could have made another few R off this. Ended up going 1 to 7, I think. But again, guys, we're in a range, so I'm looking for liquidity to get swept. So as price comes up here and sweeps this liquidity, look at the massive move it did. It just absolutely tanked. And in order for me to get into this trade, I wanted to see supply holding. Now, obviously, you guys, we know we have imbalance here. This could absolutely, when I got into this trade, it could have absolutely done this, and then I would have lost my trade. But that's the risk I'm willing to take with the system, is understanding that this will hold, or if this does hold, then I have confirmation to at least short and take all of this imbalance out. Because, again, we're in a range model, guys. So right here, you guys, price is respecting it, and price broke this structure and this low. So this 5-minute demand is now mitigated. The supply that drove price into it held. So I believe that this area here is a strong high for price to trade away from. And so I get tapped in, and basically that's, guys, that was that trade. It just ended up going down from there. It ranged for a bit, which was not ideal, but then it just took off. Okay, so at this point in time, guys, this was I took off right up this demand. The reason I mentioned in the group why this was demand that caused the upthrust. So for me, I felt like price absolutely would or could reverse from here. So I just closed this trade, guys, actually at 1 to 5. Now, this was basically almost 10R for the day now. It would have been 15 here. So at this point, I wasn't really that interested looking at the charts. And then all of a sudden, guys, price came way up here. Okay, it just started having tons of volume. And this was a QM pattern I took a 1 to 5 off. So price here, guys, is making internal liquidity. So this was a risk entry. Full disclosure, 100% risk entered on this one. I believed because this high held, that this internal liquidity would hold, and this unmitigated OB. So basically, when price came up, you guys, into this, I just entered. And so there was another 1 to 5 back down into this zone here with this fair value gap. And then price started having crazy volume. It took off here, and it absolutely just tanked. And I was like, holy moly, what is price doing? So I went to the 15-minute. And I saw what price was doing here. So I waited for price, guys, to come back and give me confirmation. This is important, right? I don't like personally entering at these zones and these zones without confirmation, right? So price then had tons of volume, guys. It just, boom, look at this. In 40 seconds, it just absolutely took off, okay? So my confirmation was this here, okay? Pullback, higher high, break of structure, okay? Break of structure, so FOC. And then I went down to the 5-second to find my area of interest. Price broke another structure, so now we've created 2 lower lows. My confirmation here, you guys, is this zone. So when price came back up into it, I entered, and then this here broke this structure. So we were good to go for selling here. There's no reason that price now with this market structure wouldn't just absolutely melt. Again, we're in a range. So this was another 1 to 14 RR trade. I only used about 400 risk on this one, so I didn't use a ton of. I didn't trade this 1%, guys. I already made more than enough, but this sucker just ended up absolutely tanking, and that was the day. So when we look back on price, you guys, it still has been trading in a range the entire day, right? The entire session I was on, price was in a range. Therefore, we can capitalize by trading the edges, like I said, in all of my range videos, guys. I talk about trading from the edges. It's just a matter of us identifying that we're in a range, and as price is respecting this OB that took this supply that caused its OB, and price is bouncing, well then I feel like this is high or strong, this is strong, and we can bounce into it until price breaks one of these structures. right? Price has to break one of these structures for me to not be interested in a range, okay? So that was pretty much the day, and now price has broken this structure, guys. So I mean, obviously you got to use your confirmations, but I'd be looking kind of in this zone to see now if we get more order flow changes, because as you can see here, we're just respecting block flow at the moment. So price made an order flow change into this OB, and now it's made another order flow change. So, you know, if we see an order flow change and we see this OB go, then I would believe that price during Asian session going to do that. So keep an eye out for that later tonight. You know, unless the weekly guys from the demand. So if we go here, from this decides to start going hardcore tonight, all the way up here. Whoops. All the way up here. If you get an order flow change on the weekly, I mean, you're creating demand here. So I would expect a retracement, and then we might be bullish for a couple weeks here back up into this imbalance. So keep an eye out for that as well. All right, guys. Hope you have a good day.